All right, so hurricane insurance.
Right.
Not really a day at the beach when it comes to reading material.
Yeah.
But after that last storm, I'm guessing you've probably been up to your eyeballs in this stuff.
Definitely.
And we are right there with you.
Absolutely.
We're going to unpack the most important things that you need to know to navigate a claim.
Yeah, it's all about, feeling prepared,
Right.
empowered,
Yeah.
even when you're dealing with something as stressful as insurance.
For sure. And the article that you shared really kind of underlines that whole feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It starts by talking about that emotional roller coaster. After a hurricane, you've got the initial shock
Right.
and then the cleanup.
Oh, yeah?
And then suddenly you have to become like an insurance expert overnight.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, feeling overwhelmed is totally natural.
Totally.
But that's why, understanding the process, knowing your rights, and having a plan can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And that is where the article gets really practical. It emphasizes acting fast.
Yeah.
But more importantly, understanding your policy before you need to file a claim.
Yes.
Now, it's easy to just glance over those documents.
Sure.
But they use this example about roof damage deductibles.
Bruh.
That really struck me.
Oh, yeah, the deductibles.
Yes.
It's interesting how specific those can be.
Right.
Like the age of your roof,
Uh-huh.
what it's made of.
Right.
Even the wind speed during a storm can come into play.
I know. Who knew?
All these factors.
There were so many nuances to roof damage.
Yeah.
So it made me think, if it's that detailed for roofs, imagine what other details are buried in those policies.
It's a great point, and that's why taking the time to go over your policy with an insurance professional.
Really understand it.
Yes, really understanding of those coverage limits, deductibles, exclusions.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crucial.
Okay, so let's say the storm hits.
Okay.
You've assessed the damage.
Right.
One thing that this article hammers home is this distinction between wind damage
Right.
and flood damage. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, it comes down to what homeowners insurance typically covers.
Okay.
Wind damage is usually a given,
Okay.
but flood damage often requires a separate policy altogether.
Oh, wow.
And this is where things can get tricky.
Right. Especially when you have hurricanes like Helene and Milton,
Right.
which the article mentions.
Yeah.
Helene was mostly flooding.
Yeah.
But Milton involved a lot of wind-driven rain,
Yeah.
which can lead to disputes.
Exactly. It becomes a question of what caused the damage.
Right.
Was it the wind pushing rain into your house or rising floodwaters?
Right.
And the burden of proof often falls on the homeowner to make that distinction clear.
Which brings us to the all-important documentation phase.
Oh, yeah.
The article did not hold back here. It basically said if you don't have photographic evidence,
Right.
it didn't happen.
That's right. Documentation is key.
Yes.
Think of it less like just snapping a few pictures
Yeah.
and more like building a case file.
Okay.
Clear photos and videos of all the damage. Detailed records of any damaged or lost items.
Yeah.
Even those serial numbers can be super helpful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Receipts, too.
Yes, don't you dare throw away a single receipt
Right.
related to the damage or the cleanup.
Organize those receipts by category: repairs, temporary housing, anything related to the claim.
Okay.
And there are even some great apps now that are designed just for this kind of information.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm.
Okay, so we've got our documentation.
Yes.
It's all in order.
Right.
The insurance company sends out an adjuster.
Uh-huh.
What should we expect from that interaction?
It can feel a little bit like an interrogation.
Okay.
But remember, the adjuster is there to assess the damage.
Right.
This is where that meticulous documentation really pays off.
Right.
Be there for the assessment, calmly and politely point out all the damage.
Yeah.
Be ready to answer their questions.
Okay, so if things get a little contentious, say you don't agree with the adjuster's assessment,
Yeah.
the article mentioned this other option, hiring a public adjuster.
Right.
What is the deal with that?
Think of a public adjuster like an insurance translator who's on your side.
Right.
They work for you, not the insurance company.
Okay.
They can assess the damage independently, review your policy to make sure that you are getting everything you're entitled to, and even handle negotiations with the insurance company for you.
So they're like an advocate in your corner,
Exactly.
helping to navigate you through the complexities of the insurance world.
Precisely. But it's important to remember that they do charge fees.
Right.
So you'll want to consider that when making your decision.
That makes sense. It's weighing the potential benefits against the cost,
Right.
especially when you're already dealing with so much.
Right.
What happens if, even with a public adjuster, you still find yourself at odds with the insurance company?
Don't panic. Most disputes don't escalate to lawsuits. In
Oh,
fact, the article mentioned that 90% of claims are settled without ever going to court.
that's reassuring. So before even considering legal action, the key is to understand your insurance company's appeals process.
Precisely, familiarize yourself with those deadlines, gather any additional supporting documentation you might need, and present your case respectfully and clearly. And it's good to keep in mind that even if you think you've documented everything, sometimes more damage becomes apparent once repairs begin.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So it's not unusual to have to update or even amend a claim, as things progress.
Yeah, so stay organized,
Yeah.
keep those records up to date,
Right.
and don't be afraid to kind of stick up for yourself, advocate for yourself throughout the entire process.
Exactly.
It can feel overwhelming.
Yes.
But just remember, you are not alone in this.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder that insurance isn't the only way to get support after a hurricane.
Right?
The article actually did a good job of pointing out some of those government assistance options that are out there,
Yeah, like FEMA,
right?
they've got grants for home repair or even replacement depending on your situation.
If you meet certain criteria,
All right, if you meet certain criteria, and that could be a huge help for people who are either uninsured or underinsured.
absolutely. And then there's HUD,
HUD,
the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
okay?
They also have some grant programs that are designed to help communities bounce back after a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
These often target low to moderate income families or those with special needs.
It's like this safety net
Yeah.
that goes beyond just your insurance policy.
Yeah.
And for all the business owners out there, the Small Business Administration, or as most of us know it, the SBA,
Yes.
they offer these low-interest disaster loans,
They do.
which could be a lifeline for getting businesses back up and running.
While it's great that they offer that, the article did mention one kind of snag.
Oh, what's that?
It seems like the program has run out of funding.
Oh, that's right. I had forgotten about that little detail.
Yeah,
So while it's still worth applying for sure,
definitely.
as the article says, folks shouldn't bank on that being immediately available. Hopefully Congress will step up and replenish those funds quickly.
It sounded like from the article it might not be until after the election in November.
Okay, so it's a waiting game.
Yeah, for now.
Wow, this whole discussion has been so insightful.
Well, that's a lot to unpack.
We went from that emotional impact of hurricanes to the fine print of insurance policies.
It's a lot.
Those mysterious adjusters.
Yes.
And even the ins and outs of government assistance programs.
It's a crash course.
I feel like I've earned a degree in disaster preparedness.
There's definitely a lot to learn,
Yeah,
but it's knowledge that's empowering,
right.
By understanding these processes and resources, we can approach these situations feeling more confident and in control.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, as we've been talking, it struck me that the article really focuses on what happens after the storm,
Okay.
like navigating that aftermath,
All right, the recovery.
which is all well and good.
Right.
It's incredibly valuable information.
For sure.
But it's got me thinking, what about doing more on the front end? Before disaster strikes?
That's a big question.
It is a big question.
It's one thing to react and recover,
Right.
but what if we shifted our mindset to one of, proactive preparation,
Right.
both as individuals and as a community?
So instead of just reacting to these storms that seem to be happening more often and are stronger than ever, how can we create communities that are tough enough to handle them?
Right, it's a big question, and there's no magic answer that works for every place.
Right.
But, the article did bring up some important things, like better building codes,
Okay.
making sure anything new that goes up can handle higher winds, and those heavy downpours can really make a difference.
Makes sense. And for those of us who are in older homes, is there anything we can do ourselves to make our houses tougher against storms?
Oh, yeah. There's actually a lot you can do, starting with simple stuff like reinforcing your garage door.
No.
Those are often the first to go in a hurricane. Or trimming trees that could fall on your roof, even having a plan for what to do with your outdoor furniture. Those things can turn into dangerous projectiles when the winds pick up.
That's a good point. So it's all about planning and taking those steps now before that storm even forms. And it sounds like community planning and putting money into infrastructure could be really important in lessening the impact of these hurricanes.
Absolutely. Things like better drainage systems that can deal with storm surge and flooding, making sure that things like power grids and hospitals are strong enough to handle anything. These are all essential if we want to build communities that can weather the storm, so to speak.
Right. And it's not just the physical stuff, right? It's the people too, making sure that Our communities have strong support networks, systems in place that can keep everyone informed even when the power's out, and ways to get to resources after a storm.
Exactly. It's all about recognizing that being truly prepared means thinking about everything, not just individual people getting ready, but also working together and committing to finding solutions that will last.
So we need to change how we approach these events altogether. Think ahead, plan ahead, prepare.
It's a long game, no doubt,
It is.
but having these conversations, raising awareness, that's where it all begins.
So true knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
And the more we know about the risks, the things we have to help us, and the ways we can fix this problem, the better prepared we'll all be to create a safer and more resilient future for everyone.
Well said.
So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by our deep dive today into the world of hurricane insurance and how to prepare for the worst, just remember it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Start with the little things. Check your insurance, create a list of everything you own, and learn about your community's emergency plan.
And don't hesitate to ask questions. Talk to your insurance agent, your local officials, even your neighbors. The more we share what we know and support each other, the stronger we become both individually and as a community.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And there you have it, folks, your crash course in navigating the often stormy seas of hurricane insurance. And more importantly, some food for thought on how we can all work together to build communities that are ready for anything. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.